Discuss how roads can be made safer, especially with a lot of heavy vehicles. I have with me Mr. Poh Kay Ping from Poh Tiong Choon Logistics. His company has a fleet of about 1,500 heavy vehicles, and Mr. Poh is also a member of the Singapore Road Safety Council. So thank you very much for coming in today. We saw the statistics earlier. They're quite alarming. Summonses are up, violations like speeding, not driving on the left side of the road. You know, I understand that drivers need to meet a deadline, but really not at the expense of road safety. Correct?
Of course, to the public, we are very concerned about safety. So I think the increase in violation also reflect that there's an increase in enforcement. I think it's good for the public to know that a company like us are paying a lot of attention now to safety as usual. So it's important for us to educate our driver on the road safety aspect.
So perhaps help us to understand the nature of the job of these heavy vehicle drivers. What do they have to go through
they have
every day?
very irregular hour. They have to climb up and down. They have to do loading, unloading sometimes. And because of that, very few Singaporeans are willing to become a driver, even though the pay are considered quite reasonable. A take-home pay can be in the region of 3,000–4,000. But however, due to the blue-collar nature of the work, it's hard to get Singaporean.
Okay. Well, another common offence is speeding. That's one of the top three. And most drivers are paid for each trip that they make. And some people are saying that this is the root of the problem. Would you agree with that?
I don't agree that is the root cause of the problem, because at the end of the day, we are encouraging productivity. But at the same time, the company must have the safety culture in mind, and the driver must be properly educated on safety. If you have good safety practice, I think the trip basis is not a problem.
Okay, so instead of being paid on a trip-by-trip basis, the Workplace Safety Council has proposed paying them a fixed monthly salary. Would that perhaps help to solve the problem?
I don't think so. In fact, the important thing is that whether the driver have enough rest, whether the driver are properly monitored in their performance of their job, whether they are speeding. We have good practices available in the company that help monitor all this.
So for example, give us some examples.
For example,
of the good
we have GPS tracking for all our drivers, and we know exactly what speed they are doing. And we have spot check, like for example, we have alcohol and drug policy, and we do annual spot check. And if they are found to have any violation, they are terminated immediately.
Wow, so from this month, all heavy vehicles caught speeding have to undergo additional inspections. Do you think that this is a good policy that they're going to implement?
It is a good policy overall, but I also urge the authority to look at the driver themselves, not only penalizing the owner, because the first line of defense is the driver. So if they found out that the speed limiter is not working, they must report. They have the duty to report to the company immediately. So we must urge the authority that not only to penalize the owner of the big fleet like us, but they also have to look into the driver themselves, how they are responsible to report. You know?
Okay, so what other solutions do you think would deter heavy vehicle drivers from speeding? For example, penalties?
Well, speeding, if they cause serious accident because of speeding, and I think the punishment can increase and be more harsh. At the same time, enforcement is good way, and each heavy vehicle company should look into how to educate the driver. For example, we have almost we call two-box meeting, where driver meet the lead driver almost 5 times a month to talk about the latest situation, accident statistic of the Singapore, and even within our own company, whether there's anything that we should look out for.
So always keeping the lines of communication open with the drivers.
Yes, and a good management, a good policy, good safety culture will help reduce all these unnecessary accidents.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Poh. Pleasure speaking to you.
Thank you.
And that was Mr. Poh Kay Ping from Poh Tiong Choon Logistics on how to keep the roads safe for everyone given the rising number of heavy vehicle accidents.